What happens when you drive by 10,000 Ford dealers, but then pull into that one because one of those trucks just caught your eye? You buy an unplanned truck. For those of you that are new to the channel, I've had an old 2000 F-150 for a long time now, and it was a beautiful truck for me. I loved it. I still love it, but it wasn't the greatest tower. The power back in 2000s compared to today's truck power, there's no comparison. Trucks have come so far in the last 20 years. 20 years is a long time, but they've come so far in the last 20 years that you can't even compare the two. Most of you know I don't buy new anything. I will never drive off the lot anything other than equipment. I drove my Kubota tractor off the lot, but you know, heavier machinery or equipment is a different ball game. But when it comes to vehicles, I'll never be that guy, but I'm glad there's plenty of that guys out there so that guys like me can buy low miles, slightly used trucks for half of their sticker price. So thank you, keep buying them. It's a good decision. At any rate, I wanted to go over some of the things that you're going to want to tackle when you buy a used Ecoboost truck. So this truck has the big 3.5 liter Ecoboost. This same exact principles, I guess we'll say, will apply to the 2.7 liter Ecoboost trucks as well. There is one massively important thing that you need to tackle right away, and then there is one less important thing that you would want to tackle later. So I want to talk about blow-by, which is a great name for my ex-girlfriend, but it's also an important thing that you need to consider when you're looking at a used turbo anything, but especially these F-150s with the 3.5s and the 2.7s, they have a fair amount of blow-by. It is a lot of horsepower per liter that you're getting out of that engine. So I wouldn't say it's high strung. These things last forever if you take care of them. But it's a new engine with direct injection, which is another issue for blow-by. And it's got all the fancy bells and the whistles, so it's a techie motor. Blow-by is not a good thing. So what do we have? Well, this truck is got about 50,000 miles on it. So it's at that point now where if the original owner did not put in a catch can or a dual catch can, and that dual part is also important, you're going to want to do that right now, because what a catch can does is it catches the blow-by material that basically blows past the seals on your pistons and ends up re-entering the air intake system and being pumped back in through the engine. So all cars have some level of blow-by. That's normal. But forced induction engines have a considerably higher level of blow-by because they are in fact forced induction. And when you're forcing air in, it's a much more violent explosion. That's why you get all of that power out of a turbo or a twin turbo engine that you do. The byproduct of that is blow-by. Now your catch can options vary greatly, but a good quality dual catch can setup made for the Ford F-150 is gonna run you about $300 to $400, depending upon which brand you go with, and actually up to $500. I've seen them 450s, somewhere in that range, I wanna say. Maybe up to $500, who knows. I'm not gonna spend that kind of money on a very simple thing. If you understand what blow-by is, it's just gross, airy water with oil in it, essentially. We don't need anything too fancy to catch that and prevent it from going into the intake. So I'm going on to Amazon and ordered up a couple of generic, not brand specific anything, generic aluminum catch cans, and I did an installation on this truck. I posted a picture of that installation on one of the F-150 forum website, it was Facebook actually, one of the Facebook pages, and everybody was asking me, how do you do that? Because this cost me like 60 bucks versus the $400, $500 systems that are made for the truck. And this is an incredibly easy thing that literally anyone can do. It requires no special tools or anything. So we're going to take a look at that. We're going to start by popping our engine cover up. Well, actually by taking our oil fill cover off. And then you're just going to lift up try and pop this engine cover up from the front and then pull it out towards the nose. This is the catch can system that I installed, and you've got two separate units, and you're going to need to get two separate units because you've got two different sides of the engine with its own recirculation, essentially, of that air. One of them is done solely under vacuum. That's your primary, your left-hand side, well, technically your right-hand side of the vehicle. That is the one that is under vacuum and will accrue the most oily crap. The other side, driver's side, is under pressure. So when you're under boost, that is when you'll get flow through that. So this won't see quite as much action or as heavy duty, but it will still pick up a fair amount of crap over the mileage. So what we did, or what I did, you didn't help at all. So what you're gonna wanna do is you've got these nice, quick, easy disconnects. I love these connectors from Ford. You just push down on the gray tab there. These guys pop right out. What was here was this stock piece of pipe. And that stock piece of pipe was on this connector. So I didn't go and buy anything new at all. All I did was I took my 1/2-inch hose and I removed the factory ends from this piece, which can be done very easily just by putting a little bit of heat into this to soften it up, and it'll pull right out. But once you have that out, you can then slip it into a 1/2-inch inside diameter hose. Hose does come with these guys. I didn't use it. This is a much nicer rubber vacuum hose. The hose that they ship you with these things, I mean, for 30 bucks, what do you want? They ship you some crappy hose. So I don't recommend using that. I do recommend upgrading that to something decent. You can get this stuff at any auto parts store by the foot, and it's dirt cheap. Do it once. You don't have to worry about these on the vacuum side collapsing, because the cheaper lines will collapse under vacuum, which is a problem. And you obviously don't have to worry about it on the boost side of them blowing out or something like that when you use a good quality rubber hose. And you're going to need about 12 feet of it, so you know, it's not too much, but well worth upgrading that. So you're basically going to do that on both ends of these guys, and you're going to loop it through. So this is our passenger side, so this is our vacuum. This is the one where we get most of the problems. Those lines simply go from, this would be out to in, through the catch can, out of the catch can, back in to the air intake. And for the other side, driver's side, it's hard for me to get a camera in here, but basically we have the exact same system. It's actually even easier. The pipe for this side is about this long. So you're gonna come out of the factory valve cover, same thing, right into your catch can, out of the catch can, right into the connector, which I definitely can't show you, it's down here, but it's only about 3 inches away from this connector. So the same exact situation as on the other side. This is your boost side, and yeah, that's all there really is to it. So it really doesn't get easier than that. This is not a hard process. I would say everything, if you don't count mounting this, it maybe took me 10 minutes to pop these connectors off, reusing the factory connectors, because I didn't want to put like hose clamps and, you know, stupid stuff that whenever you can go OEM, you try to go OEM. But you don't have to go and buy those really expensive kits that come with the OEM connectors on them. There's no reason you can't reuse them. Again, it's just hard plastic pipe that you can soften easily with heat. I used a blowtorch. I don't recommend that. If you got a heat gun, which I do, I was just too lazy to get it. If you got a heat gun, that's the safer way to do it, but any source of heat, you'll soften these right up, they pop right off. The other thing I did while I was in here was change the plugs. Plug changes on these Ecoboost 2.7s and 3.5s, incredibly important. They burn up plugs like crazy. Again, a lot of horsepower in a smaller package. They tend to be pretty hard on plugs, a lot of heat. But other than that, if you take care of that end of it, you service it, oil changes, incredibly important. Do not go by what the computer tells you it needs. Those extended oil things are just a complete joke. They were done for EPA and they were done for the cost of ownership. They were not done for people that want their vehicles to last. So I'm not saying you got to change every 3,000 miles, but you know, some of these 7,500 to 10,000 mile oil changes, horrible for your vehicle. I change every 1,000 miles because I only drive about 1,000 miles on my trucks a year, believe it or not. So this thing's gonna last me until I'm in a coffin, which is great. I thought of one other thing. It's hard to forget because there's a giant yellow sticker there that tells you what it is. The other thing that I would recommend is that you, if not necessarily upgrade, because the paper filters are just fine in all reality. But if you are going to upgrade your air filter for a little bit better flowing one, I strongly do not recommend an oiled filter like a K&N or something like that. But I would recommend these AEMs. These are great and they are a hell of a bargain. I'm going to link them in the description. It is a beautiful pleated filter, very, very good quality, nice piece really, reasonably priced. It's going to last a very long time, and unlike oiled filters, you don't have to worry about that oil getting sucked past the filter, which happens quite regularly, and down the line into every sensor that sets off a check engine, or if nothing else, just makes it run or burn more gas per mile, because we're not getting the actual air readings because we've got friggin' K&N oil on your mass airflow and things like that. So that should do it for under the hood anyway. So I've had this truck now for 2 months and I love it, but I will tell you the boys at Ford must have been on the crack pipe when they decided to make the factory license plate mounts the same for all of the F-Series trucks. If you've got a 5.0, this doesn't apply to you, you don't care. But if you've got the 3.5 or the 2.7, you'll know that the intercooler sits behind this grill and a little bit above that. But this is your primary source of air for your intercooler. And the factory license plate mount puts the license plate up, blocking all but this little area basically, and a little bit across the top of air, which you need to cool your intercooler so that you get the maximum performance out of your twin turbo nasty truck. So what I would recommend here is not just leaving it open because, well, that's the other part of these. That's the other point, is these areas that are open have nothing protecting them from a rock going right through and dinging your intercooler or putting a hole in your intercooler so that you lose boost and the performance associated with that. So I did do the very painful task of drilling into my bumper, which I hated to do, but given the options here, there's not a lot of room in the front of this truck. I brought it down. I had to drill it to do that. But that allows me to put in a nice billet grill, which I think looks really nice with the chrome of the bumper, protects the intercooler behind it, and gives it full airflow to do its thing and keep it cool. So I think that's just about going to wrap this one up in terms of what you should definitely do right away when you first get or buy a used Ford F-150 Ecoboost. If you want to know more or have any other questions, make sure you throw down in the comment section below me. If you want to see maybe some more content with this truck in it in terms of paint correction and some of the other things that I do typically when I buy a new to me vehicle, just let me know in the comment section. I did film some of that as well. If you want to see it, I'll throw it up. I didn't include it in this video because this one's getting a little long, and yeah, there's only so much of me you can take, so I understand. But otherwise, everybody, thank you as always for watching. I really do appreciate it, and have a great day.